Ruffalo. I want to ask you, what has been your biggest challenge so far in your career, and how are you dealing with it?
Memorizing my lines now that I'm 57. No, I mean the hardest thing that I had a brain tumor, and that just stopped me dead in my tracks, and it was the whole left side of my face was completely paralyzed, and I had to drop out of a big movie. It was like right at the beginning of my career. And I didn't know if I was going to ever really act again, you know? And I didn't know what I was going to do. And it was like I had to start all over again, really, after that. Because I was also, then you sort of damaged goods, you know? I was like, is he a drug addict? What happened to him? He had to drop out of that movie. Does he have AIDS? I mean, the gossip that was swirling around it was back then was pretty intense, and but then the left side of my face wasn't really working. It still wasn't quite like 100% there, and just coming to terms with that loss at that time, and then having to keep moving forward was really difficult. It was difficult for me and my family and my friends, and the other hard part is to keep challenging yourself, you know, to keep challenging the world's sort of expectations of you, or even when you get into a comfortable place, to keep pushing yourself, because it's easy. You know, you just want to work, really. I mean, that's all I wanted to do was just stop bartending and like be able to pay my parking tickets, or at least get my car out of the impound when it got booted, you know, and not have to worry about it. And that was the biggest hurdle to get over, just to get to that place. But then you do something well, and then everyone sees you in that, and they want to just keep seeing you in that. And so just to keep pushing it out, keep challenging yourself, keep being brave, keep changing it up if you get the chance to do it, and to have some faith that whatever your inner artist will be there to meet it. I think that's really important, you know. Thank you, guys.
Kevin. Hi, Mark. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks.
My question is, what was a role you played that you felt made you grow the most as either an actor or a person, and how did it do that for you?
Well, it made me grow the most. It's funny. Every role you sort of take, hopefully, sort of takes you on some kind of journey, you know, and takes you either closer to yourself or away from yourself. Things that are a period, probably. The most recent thing was probably Poor Things. There was such. Thank you. The nice part. It was just so different than anything I'd ever done, and it was a period piece. It was a dialect. It was a very physical character. It was a really difficult director who was just like, after every scene, was like, "It's a disaster. Okay, let's move on." But it really stretched me, you know, And I was scared. I didn't know I could do it. And I feel like I was almost fired at one point. When I had the dialect coach call me and say, yeah, we need to work on some of the dialogue. It's your dialect. We need to find some geography in it, and maybe we could go through a few lines, and Yorgos doesn't know. And I was going from one makeup test and hair test to the next, and nothing was working. And I was like, I'm done. I never had a dialect coach call me to give me notes. That's not a good sign. But eventually, I found my way into it. But it really did challenge me a lot. And I was lucky for that challenge. But those are the two things. Those are the two things that jumped to mind, recently. So I hope that's a good answer.
Elizabeth Newman.
Hi, Elizabeth. There you are.
Hi, Mark. It's good to have you here tonight.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah. I'm having fun.
So I wanted to ask you something really intellectual, then I decided, wait, I'm blonde, I can't do that. I chose another question for you. Was there ever a role in your career that challenged your personal beliefs? I mean, your political, your social, moral beliefs, and how did you handle that?
You have to love the people you're playing, I think. You have to at least understand them. We're not fixed, and beliefs change over time. And people are interesting. And as an actor, I find, the beautiful thing about acting is we're invited into people's worlds. I don't know if there's another career, maybe journalists or writers who are given such access to people's personal lives as actors are. And everyone's belief system is in some way or another comes out of their experience and is totally justified by that person, whether we like it or not. And that's the way the world is. And it's always been. And so as an actor, you have to be open to that. You have to be empathetic to it. You can make fun of it. I did a role in this movie, Mickey 17, and the guy's a total, asshole. And just a petty dictator, but I also found things about him that I found were sympathetic, and things that but I also am sending him up too. I'm making fun of him, and I just think the more you can empathize with the people you're playing, and at least understand where they're coming from, even if you find it abhorrent, just the better performance it's going to be. Because the person who's living from that point of view is playing themselves to the hilt. They believe it to the very core. Now, I was asked to play a pedophile. I was like, no, I don't want to play a pedophile. Okay, I have no interest in. I don't want to live with that. Okay, maybe one day if it's a great part, I will. But this part just didn't speak to me that way. And so, I don't think you want to shut yourself off as an actor. And I think you want to be as honest as you can about the people you're playing and understand them as deeply as you can, with as much empathy as you can, even when they're doing horrible things, because hurt people, fucked up people do fucked up things. And I have a friend who was in prison, and he's a recovering drug addict, and he said, Mark, There's no excuses, but there's reasons about how people get to where they are. And so I think we do well by understanding the people we play or are asked to play and find some sort of understanding and empathy or compassion to them if you can muster it, if you can bear it. The guy who plays Hitler, you know, we want to see Hitler played well. We want to understand who that character is. We want that actor to tell us the truth about that person so we can understand how that person became a world leader and affected the world and humanity in the obscene way that he did. We don't want somebody to play him like, you know. We want to understand what it was that was compelling about him. You know, we want to understand what it was inside him that was so broken that his world belief could be so sinister and be able to sell it to so many people, right? That's an interesting character. I don't agree with that person at all, any of his beliefs, anything in any way. But that's an interesting character to understand because that's a character that means something in the world. It's a profoundly impactful character.
Stop, Chang.
Hi. Are there any warm-up exercises or personal rituals, personal rituals that you like to do before a show or before you get on set? And if so, how might they differ between camera work and the stage work?
Brushing my teeth. You never want to have bad breath when you're working with an actor, a fellow actor, unless you're playing Hitler. I personally don't really have them because, like I was saying, each character sort of has its own journey. And so I tend to find something that's for that character, or I just try to I try to keep it loose, and even the heavy things, I try to find as much humor as I can on set, between takes, because that keeps actors loose, and that playfulness, I think, is really necessary and helps the morale and helps the communication between actors. So if I was going to say whatever I carry from one role to another is a sense of playfulness and joking and clowning that makes people feel safe and open and free and also playful. Because that's, I think, when really interesting acting can happen, whether you're doing something dark. And the darker the thing you're doing, the more you need to bring that. Because a mood starts to settle on a scene. And moods are, as Stella used to say, don't play a mood, darling. It's deadly, you know? And moods are deadly. They're deadly, you know? You want things to feel spontaneous and fresh and crisp, and anything could happen at any time, you know? That's me, but I know people who really ritualize this thing to give them comfort, you know? We want to be comfortable. We want to be relaxed. We want to be comfortable, and rituals do that for people. Mine is just to goof off, you know? You don't have to clap.